speaking of the weekend, there was some tremendous television that took place. And I would say that because I was on a plane with Lee DeLapp coming back from Columbia, South Carolina for the tailgate event that we had for Graduate Hotels, and was watching the Ohio State Notre Dame finish. And my God, heartbreaking for Notre Dame, but damn, that was a good football game. That was a really, really fun game. And Brady, did you go to South Bend? Did you leave Cincinnati and go out to South Bend for that game?
I don't even know where to begin. I'll say this. I had a chance to go up for the game. It was one of the coolest atmospheres I've been a part of because it felt like one of those heavyweight, college football playoff kind of matchups. That's why I can't wait for expansion because that's what you're going to get in the first round. You're going to get that sort of home field environment like that. Now, granted, it's going to be cold as hell, but the truth is it felt as one of the bigger games that like I've been at and been a part of, which was pretty neat to see. And obviously the campus has changed. Everything changed since I've been there. Like they've got a jumbotron. They're pumping in like crowd noise. They got a DJ and stuff. Not crowd noise, but like music throughout the game. Like none of that was there when I was there. So it was a crazy, crazy environment. Like it was 3-0 at halftime. And I'm like, this is the most unbelievable, like, 3-0 game I've been a part of where it just felt wild. Like the fourth downs and a couple of the calls that didn't go Notre Dame's way or a couple of the plays that Notre Dame made to stop Ohio State when they got down on the goal line. Like, it was a wild atmosphere. And then there's the ending, which, it's one thing when you get beat and you just flat out get beat. Like the team makes a play, they do something, and they do something where you're just like, yeah, they were the better team that day. Ohio State was not the better team that day. There was multiple opportunities for Notre Dame to win that game, whether a game-stealing interception, obviously the final couple plays where you don't have 11 men on the field. I mean, you were that close to stopping them on the final play with 10 guys, not even a defensive lineman on that side of the line of scrimmage. Imagine if you just had another body there. They're probably not getting in. And so, look, give credit to Ohio State, Kyle McCord in particular, who kind of helped drive them back down, made a couple big throws on that drive. But I talked about this in the pregame. My biggest concern was stopping TreVeyon Henderson in the running game.
Ooh,
and ultimately that ended up being – well, neither team stopped the run, if we're being real. Taking out Audric Estime on Notre Dame's final drive, I was like, what are we doing here? But the truth of the matter is, give Ohio State credit. They found a way to win that game. And that's what it takes in the college football season, especially on the road where you got to play a tough opponent. But, look, the Ryan Day comments, that was bizarre. Like, I would say this in response to that. Like, you're talking about an 86-year-old man who they had the 1988 national championship team down there in the field, and they were helping to, like, hold Coach Holtz up, obviously, given his health conditions and everything else. And do we have the sound from what he –
Oh, of course we do.
Let's play the sound, and then I guess our listeners can decide whether or not it's warranted, what Ryan Day said.
And you look at Coach Day, and I coached at Ohio State under Woody Hayes. We won the national championship when I was there.
That's right.
So I'm proud of that. However, he has lost to Alabama, Georgia,
Right.
Clemson, Michigan twice, and everybody that beats him does so because they're more physical than Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame will take that same approach.
Well, and
now let's play the Ryan Day sound. Let's play the Ryan Day sound.
Now it makes more sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Toughness, that's it. Physicality, across the board, finish it off, having guts. I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe. This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
I mean y'all win the Big Ten every year.
Well, no, they don't. They haven't won the last two, and in fact, I would respond by just simply saying this: where's that emotion after the last 2 years versus Michigan?
That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. Did Lou Holtz say anything that wasn't true about those previous losses? Like, there wasn't anything that he said that wasn't true. It was for TV. He's an 86-year-old man. Like, this to me came off as Ryan Day looking just bizarre. for taking this emotional response after a big win. Like, that's your first words. You don't talk about, like, your team, your players, anything that stood out to you. You had a quarterback who you had to name as the starter because how kind of, I guess, inconsistent it looked through camp and early in the season. You don't want to say, what about Kyle McCord and the job he did? What about, our defense? What about Travion? Like, that's the angle you took? To me, I stepped back and I was like, we were a part of the Ohio State-Michigan game every year. And I haven't seen that sort of emotion, and granted, after a loss. But it's like that's where you want to save all that energy and emotion for, to go off on an 86-year-old coach who's no longer a part of it anymore. And, like, you're trying to find him in the bar like you're trying to beat him up because of what he said. It was bizarre. It was so odd to me, man.
I would say players come and go, but a legendary coach is a legendary coach forever. So I bet you he was offended. It sounded like he was offended by what Lou Holtz had to say about him. I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to say it was bizarre, though.
Say anything offensive? Like what? How is that offensive?
I think it was clearly offensive to him.
Lou Holtz.
I think it was offensive to him, and that was why he responded the way that he. I mean, if there's a guy that he probably is in the coaching realm of legendary, like Lou Holtz is a legend, and he takes a shot at you, I think you would be offended by it. I think he would be offended by it.
That's not a shot. That's just facts.
I think he might have took it as it was a shot. Even if he was shooting facts at him, I think he took it offensively. He clearly was offended by it. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say it was bizarre. I mean, he felt like
it was bizarre. I've never seen a head coach react to someone on television who, again, like day prior, it wasn't like it was it was like all the comments that he made, like. He's a part of it was a Notre Dame event, if you will, when that show is going to be on campus. And like, what did he think he was going to say? He was going to go in there and say something like he's rooting for the Buckeyes? Like, come on, dude. Like, it's some of this is made for TV too.
It is,
which you have to be understanding of that. So it's just for that to be how you handle a post game after a big win. That's what's surprising. It really was, man.
I think he's pushing a narrative which I can't understand. Ohio State has been atop of the Big Ten for a really, really long time.
They haven't, though. They haven't for the last 2 years.
Yeah, but they haven't won it the last 2 years. They've been at the top. Sure. Them and Michigan, and not even really them and Michigan. It's been Ohio State. Like, that's what it is. Well, Ohio State has owned the Big Ten.
It's been a mix. It's been Ohio State, Michigan. It was Penn State a year. You had Michigan State.
It's been Ohio State. It's been Ohio State. And Ohio State may not have won it every year. I get that. But they've been the team. And so you can't act like it's us against the world when like I'm a Penn Stater. Like everybody talks Ohio State. If it's anybody, it should be anybody else other than Ohio State saying it's us against the world. It's not Ohio State versus the world.
Let me say this in that regard, because when you're on the losing side of that, like I've had countless people come up and say, man, like, feel for you guys. We're rooting for you guys. And it's like there does seem to be like a collective, like, man, when someone's playing Ohio State, there's people who just want that team to beat Ohio State.
Everybody wants Ohio State to lose. Yeah. If you're not Ohio State, everybody wants them to lose.
Right, and being from Ohio, like, that's where I think that mentality comes from, is like there's that, like, hey, Ohio against the world. Like no one wants us to win. No one wants us to be here.
Because they always are winning. They're always winning.
Again, not the past 2 years. That's like saying Alabama's the top of the SEC.
They're not winning the championship, but they are always the ones to beat. I just know this. It's not Ohio against the world. It is not.
Being from Ohio, there's definitely that mentality, and I can see why.